Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back with episode 6. Today we have a very special guest. He's not only a part of our ministry, but he's our audio guy, our video guy. He's done so much for us. He's the reason why this podcast is going so strong. And it was me and Oscar talked about what way to honor our guy. He's done so much for us, and it's an honor to have Oliver. Welcome, Oliver, to the podcast.
Oliver. Yeah, Oliver, thank you. You want to say a few words?
I'm a man of few words, so yes, thank you.
He is, but
that was good. Hey, that's it. That's it for today.
But I'm very excited for this podcast. Anybody who knows Oliver, it's such an amazing time when we talk to him. He always has the greatest conversations and so much knowledge. I learn a lot every time I talk to him, a lot of wisdom. He leaves me like mind blown every time I talk to him, and it's amazing. And I'm grateful that he's here with us today, and he agreed to. He's a little bit nervous, but when he talks, you listen.
Hey, man, I remember right away when we first started the podcast, Oliver came with a willing heart, and he had vision for the podcast. I think even past the vision that we had at that moment, he was like, "Oh man, you guys are gonna reach so many people," and it really challenged me. Like I had visions that this is gonna impact a lot of people out there, but man, right away, his vision, his faith, and seeing us, walking with us, it's been amazing. So we just wanted to honor him, and we're excited. We're excited to get to know who you are, what you're all about, and how you came to Christ. But it's really an honor to have you here with us, bro.
And I'm sure a lot of people from the ministry who watch this video really want to get to know you, because we always see, when I first came, I always just saw you walking around. You would sit in the back one day, and then one service you're in the front, moving TVs, and, I never really got to talk to you, but, I'm sure a lot of people want to figure, who's this guy, who's like moving around, helping ministry and serving, So, I want to start the podcast, give us a little bit about yourself,
All right. Well, let's see here. Well, you ask the questions, and I'll go ahead and answer them for you.
Tell us about yourself. What are you? Who are you? Like, what are you about, brother?
All right. Well, for me, I like honesty. I'm a person that likes to just be honest with you, straightforward, get to the point, and when someone needs something, I like to be there. Or my slogan that I like to say is, there's people that like to invest into properties and other things like that. Well, I like to invest into people, because your biggest asset is people. So that's awesome. Who I am. I'm an investor that invests into others because I know the return is going to be much greater than anything else.
Nice, brother. And how long have you been walking with Christ?
Since I was 17. I think it was like, my early 17s.
Nice. And, we always bring it up on our podcast. We like to ask our guests, like, what was, like what made you come to Christ? Like, were you born into it? Like, were you always around, like, a family that was faith-oriented or Christ, or just like what brought you to Christ?
Oh, no. My family was not faith-based or nothing like that. I was actually a bad boy. Yeah, if you can believe it, yeah. Bad boy, barely graduated high school. Skinned right through it. I had no future, nothing. My brother actually took me to church in the past, which is located in Almani. He took me there when I was 17. He was invited by his supervisor back then. And when I got there, one of the older elders there, she immediately said, "You're new?" Boom, grabbed me and pulled me and said, "All right, you want to see Christ?" I was like, "Sure, why not? Who's Christ?"
Right.
And so ever since then, I just started going. I joined the youth ministry. They started challenging me, and that's one thing about me. I love being challenged. If I'm not being challenged, I get kind of bored, and then I'm like, well, what's the point of pursuing this if there's no growth?
Nice.
And they challenged me to the point where I started wanting to learn more and more.
Okay. And like, how'd you feel at first? Like, how was your process? You've been with the ministry, like walking with Christ, about 14 years now? 13 years now?
3.
Now, was it like was the journey like straight, or did you have like ups and downs and like?
Oh, ups and downs. I started off strong. The church was faith-based, so that's where I have a strong faith because of that. But along the way, since there wasn't anybody really around my age group, once I graduated from high school and moved on to college, everybody kind of went their separate ways. Didn't really have anybody to kind of like CFF does, the support and everything like that. Didn't have that. So as years went by, I was part of the Bible study club back then and everything, but then I started kind of pushing away, started doing more things like, well, college is fun. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I just went down a slippery slope. Never lost my faith. I just didn't really have a vision, a purpose, a goal. So I got bored, and I was just like, well, I'll just go because I know I have to go.
I get what you're saying. So you're just showing up just to show up.
Exactly.
And, you know, that's funny you say that because, like, my first 2 weeks at CFF, that's how I felt, you know? Like, my first week when I got to CFF, you know, I was really motivated, like, you know, yes, you know, I gave my life to Christ. But then I felt the enemy attack me and start giving me thoughts and be like, no, like, that's not your God, you know, just show up, you know? And I kept thinking, I'm like, well, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be a good Christian, you know? I never thought about, like, serving and talking to people. I was the first one out. You know, I'd be the last one to church and I'd be the first one out. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And then you, like, man, like, I always see, like, your posts, like, who you, like, your fellowship with others, and it's amazing, brother. You're always, like, just you giving your time to them. Like, I know when I speak to you, it's amazing. Like, there's never a dull moment when I don't enjoy talking to you. But, you know, like, I do want to ask you this question. Who is Jesus to you?
Ooh. Personally, he's more than just a savior. To me, he's actually someone I look to when I'm going through struggles, but not just struggles in general. If I'm alone or I just want to be alone, someone I go to and just talk to him freely, where I'm not going to get, what is that word I'm looking for? I'm not going to get judged. I'm just like, hey, this is what I'm going through, and I just get to freely express myself. And for men, it's a lot harder to be expressive. And even at CFF, you know, we have support, but still there's things that I was just like, I don't know if I can share that. And yeah, going to Christ, going to Jesus, he's just, I could be that person. I could just be like, hey, I want to say this and this and this, and the Holy Spirit just comes over me, and I'm like, okay, I got peace.
There you go.
Then I get convicted, I'm like, and then I go to my leader, yo, Junior, yeah, I got to talk to you.
and then you say you're part of Sabrina and Junior cell group, right?
Yes.
At your old church, I know before you came to CFF, you were going to I don't even know how you pronounce it. How do you pronounce it?
Pentecostal church.
I see. I was thinking something else. Pentecostal. Like, was there like cell groups like the way we have now?
No cell groups. It's just a church. They have their Bible studies, the men's, the women's, and that's really about it.
Like, can you see a huge difference from that and like what we're about?
Yes. Yeah, I see the difference is just community. And I do know in the past they did have that, but presently they don't, and it makes a big difference.
Oh, it does.
When I came to CFF, I started feeling that presence, that community, the support, where people were willing to be like, hey, I'm here for you. But not just saying that I'm here for you, I'm really here for you. And when I reached out, they actually followed up and said, okay, let's go.
Nice. It is, you know, like everybody's so loving, everybody's like so welcoming, and for me, that's when I first got there, you know, it really changed my perspective on how church and who Christ was. Just coming to CFF changed like my perspective, and it allowed my heart to open up to like the Holy Spirit because of amazing leaders like Oscar, Frank, you know, just the whole group's amazing, you know.
Awesome. I think it's something really cool that you said, you know, and I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that, because I know that when you went into church, you know, that your age group wasn't necessarily there, but you seeked after Christ, you know, you seeked after God, you stuck around. I know every church is doing their best, you know, and I actually, my wife went to a Pentecostal church. I went to a Pentecostal church when we first were, you know, introduced to the faith, and it's so much different, you know. Oh, yeah. They receive, they're following God just the same as we are. They're going through the same battles that we go through. But I think for somebody at your age group, you know, what would you tell somebody that went to a church is not necessarily the right space or the right environment, but to continue to seek after God, you know, because it is worth it towards you found a place, you know. How can you tell us a little bit about what kept you going, even though necessarily you didn't find anybody that kind of was in your age group?
For me, it was, as my former pastor used to say, you got to give people a task, something to do. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they don't feel important. And if someone doesn't feel important, then they become irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And no one ever wants to feel irrelevant. One thing they told me was for the elders, actually. When they come in, give them a task. Even if it's you're in charge of the coffee, just making sure the coffee is full at all times. It's not a big responsibility in the sense of people's views, But those that are tired and they come in, it's like, where's the coffee? Thank you. You have no clue how much I really needed that. Because at that moment, that task is so important. Therefore, for someone that's going through the struggles and they don't feel like well, I'm just here, get involved and do something. That's what I did. What kept me around was I talked to the pastor and I said, I'm a photographer. That's how I started off with. I said, I would love to take pictures of the congregation during the things and all that, and I would like to make a slideshow at the end of the year. He could have easily said no, but he said, you know what? I like the idea. Let's do it.
Awesome.
And he even gave me a whole service just to show the slideshow at the end of the year, which was unique to me. And little by little, I just started being involved, and that's what kept me there. I was constantly getting involved, and my knowledge kept growing and growing. All my trial and errors in my business went through there.
Awesome. And I think something got started in that church, and it's really awesome that you're able to find like the foundation there and be able to grow it. I think you could also be at any church, and within the church find like you don't belong places, especially at CFF. We have cell groups, mini churches, right? You could call them that. And there's people that I see sometimes that are not in the same age group. They need an environment where they could relate, and so it could happen anywhere, and so it's really awesome that you push through, and that you talk. I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about your talent. You're super talented. You were able to find in your talent a way to get involved with the church, and I think that's something really awesome that you did. What led you to ask the pastor that?
That is a really unique question. Never really thought about that in that way, but what I could say is I just wanted to... The church gave me so much that I wanted to give something in return. Now, you got to understand, I was barely in college. I had no finances. I had nothing. So I couldn't say, well, here, I'm going to give you all this. So I said, well, what can I give in return? Well, I have these skill sets. I'm not the best in photography back then. Why not? I'm going to just do my best. And that's why I started serving. I started giving back. The men were very supportive of that. And I started, that's really what it was.
Awesome. And I could relate, because when I came to church, I'm like, what can I do? You see all these talented men like Frank, like Louis, Marcos, I don't have the same skill set as they have, but it has to be something that the God gave me that God can use for his kingdom. And I think it's really awesome to see, you like not being asked to do it, but it came out of you, and I think it's what we saw, like this, that willingness to serve, that willingness to go in and say, I'm going to do something, but I'm not going to wait until they ask me, until there's a need. I'm going to go and find a need. I don't know if you see it that way, but I think that's what kind of what ended up happening. And Pastor Elni or Pastor Pablo, both of them always say, "El que no sirve, no sirve," and I think it's like in English, I don't know, the translation is that who doesn't serve doesn't, whoever doesn't serve, it's like irrelevant or something like that, right? So why do you like to serve? Like what's you say you like to give God of that everything he gave you, so I mean, can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. That actually retains back to the first question you asked in the beginning. Why do I like to serve? I like to serve because I like to invest into others. I like to invest into people. And this is not part of the Bible, but it's just a saying. You can feed a man once and they'll go hungry the next day, or you could teach them to fish and they'll never go hungry. Well, the same thing goes with the skill set. Yeah, I can easily do the task for those at the church and say, oh yeah, here, I'll take care of it for you. But then they're going to come back and say, oh, I need you to do it again and again and again. Where instead, like here, I can show you how to do it. Then you become independent, and then you can start showing others how to be able to do the same. And that's my investment into others. I'm investing into people because that investment is going to become a blessing, not just for within one generation, but many other generations, plus everyone surrounding by you guys and everyone else.
Awesome. Now, when I first met you, I think I always hear Frank talking really amazing things about you. Like, I'm going to meet up, with Oliver. You don't know, but, Frank, shout out to you, bro. But,
Thanks, Frank.
like, I think people like being around you, And I know because I always see the posts, see the pictures. You're always telling us I can't show up because I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really like, like building a community. But is genuine. You know, I could see how that has impacted your life, and it actually impacts us too. Like, you know, like there's a benefit, not only you being there, but like that you're giving your presence, but people being there for you too. You know, so tell us a little bit about how that's changed your view in ministry, because people think ministry, they think, you know, so many things, but this is part of ministry, right? I don't know if you see it that way, but I always see you like, you know, being around people, and that's actually really cool.
Thank you. How can I put this? Repeat the question one more time.
Well, how has that changed you? Like, how has that, like, when you think of your day and you're like, man, I spend all day with, you know, my boys, my friends from church. Like there's people who don't have that, you know, being at church. So what's the benefit for that? What do you think your takeaway, like, of being with people, around people?
Oh, okay. Okay, now I understand. I have to make a choice. Like I said, in the past, I just threw away my time. And time to me is very precious, because there's many things you can invest and re-get it back and everything, but time is one of the things you can never ever get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And I had to make a decision. How do I want to invest my time?
Right.
If I invest my time into the church family, specific people in this case, I know I'm going to get something back in return.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I choose to be part of the church family. I like to invest my time, like here. You know, didn't have to do this, but I knew this was going to be something that's going to become great, something that's going to open the doors to much, much more. But it's not just a podcast. It's going to challenge others, even cell groups, to become more. If I'm going to go a little bit off track here, but still kind of pull it back in.
Be you, bro.
When I went to the cell group, right? I'm going to give you a little background story. You remember Sergio and Carlet when they got married in Mexico?
Yeah, for sure.
You weren't here yet.
I wasn't here yet. Sorry.
Well, when they got married, Junior and Sabrina, they went to Mexico, and at that time it was multiple cell groups that part of one. Yeah. And I didn't really want to get involved. I was saying, no, I'm just gonna attend via Zoom. Anyways, it's COVID time, so I'm just gonna chill and just watch it. Well, that was the moment everything changed for me, and it really changed everything. It was the worst cell group Zoom meeting I've ever attended in my life. Sorry, you guys.
Hey, we're being transparent, you know?
but it was the worst of the worst. So bad that I had to step in and say, Junior, I call him Donald, when he got back, I said, bro, I can't do this. I cannot stand by and see something go when I know I can do something to help. So I told him, next week, can I step in and can I bring my own equipment? Can I bring my own stuff? And he's all and that's the moment things changed. Junior could have said no, but instead he said yes. He said, yeah, by all means, anything helps, bring it. And I did, and then from that day forward, everything changed. Not just there, but it started with our cell group. Other cell groups started getting involved, just like JC's. Yeah. He actually took him, we went and got him a speaker because his cell group is too big. So he was like, hey, bro, I need your help. I need a speaker and a microphone. I said, let's do it. And his entertainment system is based off the same thing. A few other cell groups have the same concept. And, yeah, it was just started to grow and grow and grow from there. Nice. To the point where then Pastor ended up asking me, saying, hey, I like your setup. Can you help us out with all these other events that are more independent? Like they're small, but very important. And I said, yes, of course. I'll be more than happy to help. And things just started growing just from one act. That's awesome. And reeling it back in. For those that don't know what to do, they say, I don't really have a skill set. What can I do in the church? You know, what's the point of ministry? The point of ministry is that one single act could change the entire course, not even just of a church, but one single act could change everything, so many lives, open so many doors, and you could just be a blessing. Might not benefit you, but it might benefit others, and that's the whole point is invest your resources into others, because that's at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do.
And, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to share a verse from the Bible from 1 Samuel 12:24. But be sure to fear the Lord and faithfully serve him. Think of all the wonderful things he has done for you. You know, like you said, you don't have to be talented. You don't have to have a special skill set to serve Jesus or serve God. I usher, so I'm always welcoming people coming into church, and at first when they asked me to serve, I was very like nervous and like I don't know like what am I gonna do, But then I saw the big pictures. It doesn't matter like what I think. I'm serving my God, and I think serving God is setting an example for your future disciples. If you could submit to God in that way, it's like you're setting an example as a leader. I think it's like you told me. I always like to say this, but I remember you telling me in order to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower and a great servant. And I always take that to heart when I serve. I like to serve with all my everything. Like I never understood because we went to Encounter. Me and you went to Encounter together. Yeah, when I was receiving, I would always wonder, like, why is there so many people serving? For just like we don't need this many servers. But then
sometimes we do.
No, but see, that was my mindset back then. But then I served at this last.
There's more people serving at that encounter. Than
I know, but I saw it. I served this last encounter, and it really made my heart happy, just serving and being on that side, and just I was also receiving, but I felt like my faith grew at that moment when I was serving, just trying to minister to like the new ones and be there for them. It's like God showed me a whole different realm, It made me see God in person, because I saw His goodness and I saw the power of God, and I felt at that moment, at this encounter, my faith took off to another level. And I know there's this song by Elevation Worship off their new album. It's called "This Is the Kingdom." It said when you first seek the kingdom, everything else will fall.
Amen.
And I always like to take that, So I mean, you know what, Oscar? I did want to ask you a question. I'm gonna kind of be off track.
Okay.
It's gonna go back to your cell group, but it's just in my mind. Do you feel people receive more in person or like on Zoom? Do you prefer people to log on Zoom, or do you prefer people to be in person as a cell group leader?
As a leader, okay. That's a good question for my cell group. So, comment below.
Subscribe though.
Personally, like in person, but you can also encounter God through Zoom. Like you can encounter a word if you take yourself there. If you're just connected to a podcast or to a cell group through Zoom, and you're not really connected to what the word is saying, it might as well not even like be there.
That's true.
But there's people who show up to cell group in person who are not even connected to the message. So I think it has to be with the heart, like also because if your heart is hungry, you're thirsty for the word. I receive so much, by books, podcast calls, because my attention is there. If you're gonna be there, then be there. But I don't, to answer your question, it could be it has to do with the person receiving, because I seen people at cell group who text me after and they're like, Jonathan, for example, he lives in Colton. Sometimes he can't make it a cell group in person. And this guy calls me after cell group like, dude, that was so awesome. Thank you so much. And he's on a Zoom call. And I don't get the same feedback from some people who make it to my cell group in person, So what's the difference is the heart, I love something that Oliver said that I don't know that answers your question, but I hope it's not too like confronting to some of y'all, but I think it is in the heart, Oliver, when he came in, bro, I don't know if you remember, but you probably do remember, but he was like, no, we're not going to do it this way.
Yes, we were over there. Yeah, he arranged everything. He did.
He was like, no, we're going to do it in excellence, and I remember that's something that you told me. And you're right, bro, like, when we saw his cell group set up at Sabrina and Juniors, bro, like, it was confronting during the pandemic, dude, because you had your sound, you had your lighting, your video, and a lot of us could have said, you know what, that's because they have Oliver, dude, and Oliver is awesome, and they're lucky, but no, like, he changed the game, and it's like you said, like, you could have just sit there in the crowd saying, they got it, bro, like, you could just show up to cell group, like you said, also, or like watch a mediocre like setup, Like sometimes we had that at cell group, but I'm learning from Oliver, so it's gonna change, you know. But somebody that has that skill set could have picked up their hands and said, I want to be used, like, you know, like, and without the leader or the pastor having to ask your heart. That's what when me and Oso were talking, we're like, dude, this guy has a heart of service. We didn't even have to ask him. He didn't have to show up. He didn't have to listen through the helicopter, you know, as the helicopter was like, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
You remember? So, but like, I take it back to I did my devotional. I was doing my devotion on Mark 6:36, when, you know, when Jesus like is going to feed the multitudes, and one of the disciples asked him, send them away, you know, so that send them to the nearest town so they could get fed. You know, this is a man who knew there was a need, but wasn't willing to fulfill it. His heart was to like send them, you know, and like, but Jesus, you know, like Alba said yesterday, like he's like, what are we gonna do? And you had that heart of a servant. So, you know, like, what can you tell somebody that is watching that maybe is like, man, I could change something. Sorry, bro, that I could change something. And I don't know, maybe you see it that way, maybe you don't, but I see it that way in you. Like, you're like, I want to be a change agent. I want to do something. And I may not necessarily have to be in front of the camera, but I can make a change outside of it, you know, and they could change, you know, could change the game. You know what I mean?
To answer that question, I'm going to give you another question to that. Okay. Well, it's not really much of a question, but so I don't know if you guys already know, but I'm blessed to be able to have Frank and Elba allow me to come to their homes during the marriage class. Mm-hmm. Because I get to help record it and use it, and I save all those videos and I give it back to them, so I have a record so other people could view them freely if they ever need it. So with that being said, Frank once said during the marriage class, he was talking about being a husband, but it pertains to many things, not just marriage. If you want to be the best husband, or in this case, if you want to be the best leader, in order to be a leader, you don't have to be the one getting served, but you must be the biggest servant of them all.
Ooh, that was good.
And that's what he said. But like I said, it meant marriage. But in this case, I took it as, if I want to be someone, I'm not a leader yet in the sense of, you know, the ministry, but that doesn't mean I can't start making change. It doesn't mean I cannot start influencing others. But the only way I can do that is by being a servant and just being there. Yesterday, Alba reached out and said, I need you to help me set up all this. I was very tired. I only slept, I think it was like 5 hours in the last 48 hours. And I didn't want to stay there. I didn't want to set it up. I said, no, because this is because the blessing is not for me. The blessing is going to be for others. They need this setup, so I'm going to just do what needs to be done. And you know what? So many people were blessed from that. Not sure if you knew about the meeting they were having yesterday.
For the baby.
Yeah, for the baby from 03. Every time I see what is being done, like you said, feed the multitude, send them away, and all that. Sorry, you have to repeat the question one more time for me.
You know, the excellence part is what stood out. The part of excellence and how you see things. You're like, no, this is not giving glory to God. Like, there's another level.
So for me, I like to do everything in excellence. You've both already seen that.
Yeah. Every podcast.
And remember what I said in the past, that I like to challenge myself. Otherwise, I get bored and I say, well, what's the point of doing this? The only way one person can grow, actually all people can grow, is through challenges, through obstacles, struggles. And for me, all this, when I first started, I had zero knowledge. To be honest, everything that you see now is just a blessing, because I have zero, and I mean zero knowledge on how to be a live streamer, sound technician, nothing. I'm a photographer, that's all I am. But somehow during the pandemic, I was asked to do something at the former church. I was asked by the pastor when the pandemic hit and everything closed. He said, we need to go online, and we need to do it by tomorrow. I had a zero budget, and our live stream was off an iPod. That was our entire live streaming thing.
Wow.
So going from an iPod to a full, complete computer system, audio interface, cameras, lighting technicians, everything's wireless, by the way. I set them up completely wireless, so I can even control it from my phone from here. So they're completely independent, and it all happened because I said, when the pastor asked me, I could have said no. I said, no, that's, I'm going to go do other things. I said, you know what? Yes, I will do so. And I prayed and prayed. I don't want to just do another little setup like everyone else shows you how to do on YouTube. I want it to be unique, and I want it to be to the perfection that God will want me to do it at. And that's what motivates me to excellence, is everything I do it to the point where I've reached my limit of knowledge, but then from there, it's God's turn to teach me how to do the next step. And that's all the setups that you see me do.
Yeah.
It's all like that. Like everything here that you asked, I remember in my beginning, I brought like this whole setup. Now everything fits in a backpack. That's a challenge I had zero knowledge on how to do, but out of the challenge of excellence, now everything fits in a backpack, our entire setup.
Yeah, it does. That's awesome.
So before every podcast episode, like the night before, I pray to God and I ask Him to give me a word. I'm like, give me a word. Like, I need a word from you, God, because I need confirmation, right? I was driving over here. I had gotten the word from Samuel, but then I was at a stoplight coming in from Downey, and Colossians, that's how you pronounce it, right? Came in to my guy was like, hey, go read Colossians. So I actually was reading on the way over here Colossians. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting anything. But I got to chapter 3, and it was verse 23 to 24. Work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for that Lord rather than for people. Remember that the Lord will give you an inheritance as your reward, and that the master you are serving is Christ.
Man.
That word was for you, Oliver. And I'm going to say this now. Not only am I grateful for your life because of what you've done for us, but you've also, like, your vision is, like, amazing, brother. Like, I could see it, like, I could see you could do great things, not for our ministry, but you could do great things for the world. And I say that with the honest because your vision is great in my eyes, but you also push me and motivate me. I don't have my cell group yet, and I haven't even shared with George, but I want to share it now in the podcast, which is I think is a good thing. But I spoke to Helen. Shout out to my girlfriend, by the way. But I want to take CFF to like new heights, and I don't know how Pastor will feel about it. Of course, I got to have to run it by Pastor first. But the way we're doing for our podcast, I think for my cell group, I would want to go IG live, like during my cell group. I would want audio to go on Spotify, like for my cell group. Reason why is because who are we to limit ourselves to just Zoom as leaders? Like, we can reach people from out of the world to show what CFF is about. And I think that's the vision you're giving me is like, when I start my cell group, I want to be the first one that's going to go live. Of course, I got to run it by my chain of command, but you give me that vision, as a cell group leader. I just don't want Zoom. I want to go live on everything. I want to reach souls out there, because not everybody uses Zoom, right? Nope. And you brought that vision to me, so I wanted to share that because I want to be great. I want to have great vision like you, like spread the word, but in different, like, basic, like different platforms. And I think that's something I wanted to share. So it's like, I don't know, what do you think about that, Oscar? It's like, since you're a cell group, you're a leader, and I mean, I know you're one of the 12. So it's like, what do you think about that idea?
That's the excellence part. That I remember you telling me, I influenced you even buying a backpack, and I think that's the part, your heart too. You see that with him is like, it's excellence. I want to grow. I want to push it to a new level, and I think that's a new level, bro. That's the heart, that we have in our churches to share the word. Of course, pray about it. Talk it over with George, Janet. Yeah. If I know their heart is to go and our pastor is to reach the multitude. That's why not use that platform. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are using that platform for so many other things that are not godly. You just have, I would say pray about it. Mm-hmm. And your life will be under like a telescope, Of course. And so before showcasing anything out in social medias, you have to make sure that your heart and is in the right place, and that you're not doing it for anything other than to serve God and get getting famous or anything like that.
Oh, of course.
But it's more like if I could reach one person,
Yeah.
man, all the sacrifice will be there, for Christ. If that's the heart, and like, why not? Why not do it? I think that's the vision that we got from Oliver.
Yeah,
That Oliver was like, no, man, like it has to be excellent. It has to be. We have to raise the bar. He used words like, and by the way, also like, I think that's a beautiful thing, bro. Like, before I go into praising Oliver, I think one of the things that I love about you is that you're always winning the lost, and don't ever lose that, bro. Like,
absolutely.
Like, of course there's a strategy to it.
Oh, of course.
But man, don't ever lose that wild horse like mentality. Like, I'm gonna go and run, like, I think that's something that you also bless me with, like, hey, why can't we be more bold? Why don't we, like all this, bro? Like, you influenced me to buy equipment that was quality, like that was excellent, that wasn't mediocre, that how much of a blessing you've been, like, just by you showing that to us, bro. Like, honestly, like, I'm like, no, what would Oliver do? Like, because because we see your work, bro. We see the way you serve, and like, and I remember when I told you, and you're like, wow, like I influenced, like your decision. I was like, yeah, for sure, man. You're gonna influence so many other people, just like you do, man. Like, this was your idea. This changed the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, it's very awesome just to see how we're elevating each other, in that sense. And I mean, how do you feel about you have that in your heart? Like, how do you have seen like how our podcast has elevated just by having Oliver serving and giving us that it has pushed us too, right?
Yeah, it has.
It's
honestly
crazy.
It's helped me not to settle. It's helped me not to be average, for sure. Yeah. It's like, sometimes when I think of the podcast, I'm like, okay, I don't want to disappoint Oliver, It was like, I don't want to disappoint Oliver. And I also think, like, well, he's my audio guy, so I gotta know. But every podcast, I stay motivated, but also, like, I've attempted other podcasts before when I was out in the world and stuff, but I was lazy. I never wanted to upload things on YouTube. I never wanted to do, like, I didn't have vision for, like, Spotify, put it on Apple, but he's pushed me to, like, I did everything at work on Saturday. I opened up the YouTube page. I even talked to Oliver about, like, Spotify. I'm trying to put the audio on there. I want to reach, but he's just like, he's changed my mindset for want to be great, but also be a good servant for God. And I appreciate him for that. I just go with the look at him. Yeah.
Well, I'm flattered by the kind words. I'm gonna add one thing in there. It's actually something that happened during my encounter. Pastor's words, actually. So I went to my encounter. It was early December of the year 2020. Those of you that know me, I'm very specific with dates. Yes,
he is.
I have a really good memory for retaining stuff, and it was during one of the conversations, just the men. I think it was a sexuality conversation. And during that time, we were having technical difficulties with one of the sound systems there, one of the speakers. And I took a cable with me. Unfortunately, it wasn't the proper cable that I needed. But Pastor looked at me, and he's like, Oliver, you are the blessing. You are the person I've been praying for, because you're going to do great things in the church and change so much for us. And I just looked at him. I said, thank you. Because remember, I was going to another church, so I was kind of like looking, and I looked at Dono. I'm like, I don't think he knows I go somewhere else right now. and then he said it again on Sunday, the last meeting. Yo. And he told it in front of everybody, the men, the women. He just said, you're gonna do great things, and I've been praying for you for so long, and you're finally here. And it didn't really catch on. I just said, okay, whatever. I'm just here for an encounter for me. That's it. And things changed from there. I mean, things just eventually, it took a year and a half for me to do the transition. But when I did, I thought I was going to be thrown in there, start working with lighting and sound and everything. And this is the part where I had to learn how to be humble. Because I came from somewhere where I built an entire interface for everything. Yeah. I mean, literally put everything together. To when it finally came time for it, I was like, ooh, I wonder where I'm going to be part of. I'm going to be part of live stream, this and that. It's like, no, you're going to be controlling that TV and the stage, and that's it. And I'm looking, I'm like, I humbled myself, said, just the TV, which literally I could do on my keyboard just left and right, and that's it. And like, that's it, nothing else. I had to humble myself so much, and I said, no, there is a structure, there is a reason, and I just had to follow it. Wow. It took every little bit of me to just say, okay, and I did. And because of that, and seeing the excellence behind it, because we were using a power cable and everything, and then I said, I don't like this. It just the cable's in the way. I can't move the TV. There's too much interference.
I remember that.
And I just said, I don't like it. So I prayed. I said, God, give me an idea. How can I use what I have to make it mobile? You know how I am. It's too basic. I want something that's complicated but simple. And next thing I know, it just clicked. A power bank. So I did my math. I love math. So I did the power level, calculations and all that. I said, oh, sweet, I could get 2.5 hours out of this power bank for the TV, and it's enough time if I started from this time, it ends at this time, it's just perfect. Awesome. And I did, and next thing I know, I remember Pastor, he was in Colombia, and he texts me, it's like 3 in the morning over there, and he texts me, he's like, Oliver, is that a power bank on the screen? And I'm just like, yes, Pastor, I will go ahead and move it for the next one. But going forward, I piled the power banks in the back of the TV, transmitters, which is like the bunny ears on the top, and I'm all the way in the back controlling everything with my computer, and nobody even knows. They're just like, that TV is literally just roaming there. No cables, no wires. It's just completely mobile, and it's changing things without any interference. And that's the part of excellence where I wanted to push it to the next level. And that same level led me to serving in the last encounter. I was blessed to be able to do all of the sound.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, twice, but this one I got to do it myself. And all these other events and everything else, it is a blessing because it started with me saying, okay, I will do the bare basic that you're asking me. I don't understand, but I don't need to understand. I just need to do as I'm asked. And now I'm being asked to do so much, and I love it, honestly. It is a blessing. It is a blessing to me to see that people have the trust. And that's the one thing I love is I don't ask for anything from others. It's just the trust and just being there.
And I think when you came to our church and when you came to CFF, obviously it was way before my time, before I came. Oh, that's right. You did tell me about that.
January of this year.
Okay, yeah. Fully, yeah. But and I think that was when Pastor said you're just in charge of the TV. I think that was God testing your obedience. And I think God also knew that he had to work something in your heart because he saw a greater vision. And I think that's why your vision is so great, because God knows you have that vision. So he wanted you to take a backseat so you can envision something much greater for CFF, you know? So my next question is, why did you come to CFF? Or why did you make that transition?
Ooh, we're getting to the juicy stuff now.
Yeah. No, I mean, just go ahead, bro.
Well, I came over because, like I said, my former church, I loved it. They poured so much into me. I am who I am today because of that. But unfortunately, there was nobody in my age group. And if you don't have anybody your age group, you can't really fellowship. You can't associate. You can't talk to others. Where if everyone is married and you're single, then the conversation is going to be different. The lingo is not really there. It's like, oh man, I'm struggling with this. Like, oh, I don't recall that. It's been too long. And unfortunately for me, that was a struggle. There was nobody for me to look, to talk to, women wise. There was nobody to, I had to look for dates out in the world, which didn't end well. We were talking about this earlier, but
yeah.
And that was the issue. I had to look outside for everything. And then when Donald took me to Encounter, I came to CFF, I started seeing it, and I said, I love the community. But it was really, really hard for me to let go of where I was at because I was there since 17, and it's hard to let go of family like that. But then finally, when I made the decision, I said, I'm not letting go of family, because my former pastor said in the past, never stay because of emotions or feelings. If God's telling you you have to go somewhere else or move somewhere, pray about it, and if you're being told to go there, then it is where you have to go. And for me, I was getting tugged, and Pastor even told me in the past, I'm an open book with him, so I told him, yeah, I'm attending this church over here and this and that, and he's, at that moment, because he had me served for like 2 weeks, and then I told him, and he's all like, okay, you're off the team. And I was like, wait, what? And that was back at the original church when we had the LED screen up there.
Oh.
And he tells me, all right, you're off the team. And I looked at him and said, how come? And he said, you're not a member of the church yet. You're a guest, and you're welcome here as long as you can. But I don't want you being divided. I don't want you serving over there, and I don't want you serving over here, because then you're going to be split, and you're not going to be doing your best. You have to make a decision where you want to be at, and
Wow.
I won't be the reason why you end up falling or falling short of what you're capable of. And it didn't make sense to me that moment. It took actually a week, and then finally I said, okay, I understand. And I was at peace with it, and I said, okay. And then from there, it was about a year later that I finally made the full-on transition. And then at that instant moment, I was like, all right, Pastor, I'm coming over. Great. Well, I need you to do this. And I was like, okay, let's get started.
But that's just the vision Pastor knows you have.
Yep.
You know, Pastor probably never gave up.
Nope.
You know, because he knows, we know how great of an asset you are, you know, how a human being you are. Just overall, like, you're amazing, you know. So it's like anywhere you go, anywhere you step on, like, I'm blessed, you know, to be here with you, you know. So I'm sure anywhere you go, anybody's blessed to be with you, you know. So how, like, the next question would be, how has ministry and fellowship with CFF impacted your life?
Oh, drastically. Before I went to Encounter the year late 2020, I was actually going through a dark spiral. I was sad. I was hard-hearted. I didn't really care. Emotions. I was actually the complete opposite of who I am right now. I still had Christ with me, but I was just, I had a lot of sorrow in me. Anger of just like, I don't need this. I don't need that. You know, I'm just coming to the cell groups because of this. And it was just, I was in a lot of pain. Didn't really express it much because I didn't really have anybody to talk to per se. But I was in a lot of pain, and yeah, coming to CFF, Donald asking me a bunch of questions, and since I've known him since high school freshman year, I was able to open up a little bit more. And he's all like, all right, he was just there for me. Didn't try to push me, just there for me. And I started seeing the church really putting an interest in me, like really like, hey, you know, what's happening? What's going on? Just talk to us. That's it. And yeah, that's what ended up pushing me and motivating me to make a switch, because I saw the family.
Yeah. And the family's everything, you know. Anywhere in CFF, like, anyone's like family to you. Like, what do you look forward to the most? Like, service, cell group, or fellowship? Like, what do you look forward to the most?
Well, if I'm organizing, it's all 3 in 1.
Yeah, sure.
No, actually, service. Fellowship is nice and everything, but service is where my heart actually stays and lies. I love challenging others. I love pushing the limits of everything, and I find joy in it. Find joy in taking on challenges that seem impossible. What is it? I heard this from a radio station. Yes, from one of the songs. It's impossible. It's only a reason not to try. And to me, that I always remember that. I just say, you know what? You're right. There is no such thing as impossibility. I forgot the verse. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
Philippians 4:13.
Thank you. That's the one thing that's the word that stays with me since I was in high school, senior year. I can do all things, and I mean all things through Christ who gives me strength. Everything that you see is because I believe that I can do all those things.
That's true. You could do all things through Christ. So, like, what does serving the Lord mean to you?
It is a way for me to fellowship with Him, to have a one-on-one time. Even though there might be all these people around, I am doing my best for Him. Like right now, the media, the equipment, the editing, everything that goes into it. I don't do it, to be blunt, I don't do it for you guys. I really don't. I do it because I have a passion for it, and I know it's going to glorify God. What is He going to do with this? I don't know, and I don't question it. I don't question any of this. I just say, let your will be done. I'm going to do what needs to be done on my end that you're asking of me. That's my way to fellowship with Him, and whatever happens, you do the rest. It's in your hands, and I just get to see the blessings. Can I add one little top thing on top of that?
Yeah, of course.
A friend of mine, Carolyn, she posted on her Instagram just a picture of the last message of Hugo, actually.
Yeah.
And she posted it, and I just commented on the IG, and I said, "Thank you. You have no clue how much this means to me." You know, she didn't fully understand it until I explained it, and I said, and I explained myself after when I saw it. I said, for me, I don't really get to see the end result of the work that I've gone into it. I just put the work in, and that it is what it is. I don't get to see the end result. But to see the end result of the comments she made and all the viewers and everything and all the feedback, I got to see a little glimpse into. I said, wow, that's the end result of the work that didn't take much, but it was an act of faith that whatever's going to be done here, God's going to take it to far beyond that I can even imagine.
Amen.
And that's, yeah.
And I didn't share this with you, but I've actually given 5 people your IG because they've asked who does your audio. So it's like, so they said they'll message you, whenever they want to launch. But I've that's my guy. So you're my guy. So I'm like, I gave you their IG. So hopefully they message you. I'm like, because I know you're gonna do great things. So, well, one question though, what was your first impression of Oscar? Like, how'd you meet Oscar? Or when did you first have a conversation with him? Because I know when I first met him, like...
This wasn't on the script.
Hey, no. Hey, but...
We're going to have a fun time with this one.
But, when I first met him, it was actually a preaching where pastor went out of town, and he actually preached service, I just remember when he preached, or when he gave a sermon, I felt convicted, I'm like, who's this guy? Who's Oscar? And then he didn't finish his message, and then I realized that George and Janet went out of town, and he came to preach at my cell group. And I'm like, okay, there's a reason why Oscar. I keep seeing Oscar, And he finished the sermon. And our first conversation we ever had, the first question he ever asked me, "What'd you get from it, bro?" I always remember. It's like, "What'd you get from the message, bro?" And I'm like, "Oh, putting me on the spot." But and I want to share this with Oscar. Obviously, I had plans to do this podcast with someone else, right?
What?
Yeah, but you know too. And it's nothing on this individual. He's a great person. But I actually wrote it in my prayer book. That's actually one of the messages that Oscar spoke at our cell group, was about having a prayer book. A prayer book's changed my life. Like writing prayer, I write prayer in it every day. But I was asking God. I'm like, hey, this is before Oscar. I'm like, hey, if this is a person you want me to do the podcast with, it's not Oscar. I'm like, hey, please reveal to me. And I wasn't getting confirmation, The next day, that's when I got that Caleb and Joshua story, about the two that never lost faith. Yeah. And you came to mind, and that's when God said, it's you and Oscar. And I'm like, wow. But Oscar's like way above me, like how am I gonna, like Oscar is amazing, like he's changed my life in every aspect too, like my mentality, the way I walk with Christ, the way I speak to people. Like he's like the perfect image of a man like I look up to, of course I look up to George, pastor, but Oscar is like a man I also aspire to be like, like when I'm in his presence I feel like, all right, like I'm gonna let Oscar talk first, because he's that kind of individual that commands respect. That's the way I see Oscar. Is like he commands respect, in his presence it's there. And I really like that, because to me, like, that's how you are, Oscar. Like you command presence and you command respect, and that's how I see you. But yeah, before we get more emotional, but how was your first encounter with Oscar? He scared me, I'll be honest.
Oh no, I'm gonna be as honest as I can. Yeah. All right, so this leads back actually about 5 months. You were actually giving a word on stage, and Pastor was out actually. Yeah, they were out, and you were the one talking. That was the first time I actually officially met you. Same thing, except you were talking about when you were looking for a job, you traveled out of state and everything. No, it was Fresno, right? Yeah, Fresno.
Yeah, Fresno talk. Yeah, and Karen went with you.
I remember. So yeah, Fresno talk, and it really spoke out to me, because you were saying that you needed to prepare, always needed to prepare. And then at the end, the person that, when they didn't give you the job, they said, you're never going to be ready. You just have to go for it and do things. That's the first time I met you, and I said, okay, I understand what you mean, because I could relate to that. So there was a little resemblance to me from college, early college, when I had the same thing. I needed all the top gear. I needed all the right equipment in order to do something, in order to make it happen. Things had to be just perfect. Mm-hmm. And when you said, things don't work that way, you just have to be ready with whatever you have and just have to go for it. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I met you, technically. Then next thing I know, you're asking me, we're gonna have this meeting. I want you to come and record it. It's gonna be a marriage class, pre-marriage class, and everything. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You were recommended.
Well, thank you.
Everybody recommends you, bro, and that's you were recommended to our podcast, and that's why I asked you. So it's
didn't know that.
So a lot of people know about you, bro. It's like, but I don't know, Oscar. Like, you know, I don't know if you know, but a lot of men do look up to you. You know, it's you know. And yesterday was beautiful when you were talking to your disciples. You know, I noticed it right away when you were talking to Julio and Chendo. You know, I don't think you realized it, but when I was literally right there standing, but the way they were looking at you and the way when you were speaking and the way like their attention was on you, I'm like, yeah, that's a great leader. And I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, because I observe everything. So just the way like Chendo and Julio were just looking at you when you were speaking, like their attention was fully on you. I'm like, yeah, that's.
I mean, it's. I want to believe that they see something in me, like Christ in me, and that's what they see. You know, I think it's very humbling to hear all those things. You know, like I honestly don't think anything other of myself other than, you know, like you guys. You know, we're just walking the same direction. I just have a couple more months ahead of you guys. You know, but. Yeah, I mean, I never, I don't let those things like get to me because, you know, like I've been in situations where, you know, people think, you know, you're a leader, you're supposed to show up a different way, and in situations you do, right? You have to be an example, or you get to be an example of what the walk is supposed to be like, and it's honoring just to see that, you know, the next generation of men have an example to see, and it's humbling that God entrusted me with a testimony that could influence somebody, you know. I'm just like you guys, you know, like, you know, you come by my house, you know, and we're the same, you know, but I think if it's that presence that my testimony could show, is that a person who didn't believe in himself, who leaned on the word, and that's where I gain all my strength, you know, because it's gone a long way from Fresno. You know, back in Fresno, I was very insecure, super introverted. There's still those moments in my life that I'm still very introverted. This is actually a step up of being extra, you know, like up in there when there's a mic or I get to talk. I that's the way I serve God, you know. Because naturally, I'm not the life of the party. You know, I'm not the one that goes in and it's the Oscar showed up, let's go. You know, like that's not me. You know, and not because I strive to be that, but the way I serve God is by sharing His word. You know, that's God gave me an ability to share boldly. And sometimes it's rebuking. Sometimes, you know, like I don't even intend for it to be that way. At the end of the conversation, it's just, it happens to be that way. But that's the way I serve God. You know, I think something that Oliver was saying, and I pay attention to words a lot. You know, I think me and Oliver kind of have the same like build. Sometimes I'm very mechanical, like very like A, B, C, D. If B is not in place, like I can move to C or D because it's like, you know, like things get shaken
like
up.
What's going on?
That's why I enjoy talking with Oliver, because I could see his mind process, his thought process, you know, and that's why I picked up the excellence, you know, from, because I know that that's the way he operates. Like if a wire is out of place, like no, we're not gonna do this, right? Like I'm very much like that, you know, and in the faith, sometimes like you have to be that way, you know, like, you know, and like you did it, you know, with the podcast, with Sabrina, you said no, we're not gonna do it this way, you know, but you said something really, really awesome that I wrote down. You said the difference between get to and have to, you know, like I think when you're serving, if you have ingrained in your brain or in your mind or in your thought process that you have to do it, like my kids do not do something willingly if they have to do it. Like you ask my kids, hey, you have to go pick up the poop from the dog, they're like, Like I have to do it. Like it's not like they want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't do it. My kids. You listen to this. But because then they're not excited about having to do something. Having to do something has the wrong connotation. Always in our mind, it always like I have to do it. Like I have to serve. Like I have to go and go to cell group. I have to go to church.
Yeah.
I have to go to do a podcast, and that's why you don't do it. But it's something that you said, and you guys can go back and listen to what he said. He says, "I get to do it," and it's natural, and that's why we have a servant heart here. As somebody that says, "I get to go in and change the game. I get to go," and it's not something that's forced. It's something that the way that he operates is like I get to, like let me go and do this because I get to do it. It's exciting for me, and that's why I believe that somebody like Oliver changes the game. Like I don't know if you've ever thought about that in the past about your language. Your language could dictate your vision, right? And you have the language that I wish that all of us as Christians would have, like I get to serve Christ. I get to be in a cell group, I get to like change the game for God. I don't know if you ever picked up that way, but I mean, just listening to you, that stood out. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, or if it's something natural, or where did it come from,
It is actually, it is natural now, but to be honest, I can't recall when it happened. I just know that I don't like being pushed into doing things that I don't want to do, because then it's not in me, it's not in my heart. It's like, great, okay, fine, I have to go do this, I'm gonna do it, but I don't do my best, and then I feel guilty because I'm like, I'm not doing my best. Where something that I'm very passionate for, I do my best without being asked to do it. I want to do this, and like to say, do your best for Christ. Just simplifying everything, but I love serving. It's in my nature. Because it makes people happy. Me investing into others means their joy, their happiness, everything above it. And if me getting to serve means that, then that just means that I have that fulfillment in me already. Mm-hmm. I'm fulfilled because I got to make someone happy. Like every time I see you guys, and you guys are like, oh my gosh, this the podcast, we got these many viewers, we got these many hits already. I get excited. Yeah. I didn't do anything. You guys did all the work. But I get excited because I got to be part of that. I got to be involved with that. And it just gets exciting. And when Pastor talks about we're going to be doing amazing things, you want to be part of this. I said, yes, I want to be part of it. But I also want to be able to do my best and be able to take it to the whole new level. And I get really excited with the chance to serve, the chance to modify things, to push things to the next limit, and most importantly, I get to give others an influence of, hey, why don't we try this? Try incorporating that into this system. It might actually simplify things, and when they actually do it, it's like, hey, that actually works really good. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Awesome. Well, what would you say to someone that's been in our church, or in another church, for that matter, that have hide, like and just being served, and haven't really seen like or pushed themselves to serve, what would you tell them to get past that barrier, and have that heart of service? I think sometimes we think that a servant is a negative connotation. That's why we don't do it, and I think it has a lot to do with the get, or have to do it, But like you said something about being excited, about serving. Like, what would you tell somebody who's maybe struggling with that? And it doesn't have to necessarily be like something that's like in the screen, like in front of the podium all the time. It could be just something as simple as, I don't know, like finding something that's missing that you can make the church excellent, and which is what you did.
So my former pastor once told me something. Actually, I was 19, maybe 20. I'm 32 now, so for those that want to do the math. He said, find a niche and fill it. To simplify those words, find something that you're very passionate about, whatever it might be. Just find it and offer your skill set. The church will not deny it. They will say thank you. We'll utilize it wherever we can. If you know how to make the best coffee in the world, like to your style, which, side note, I actually made some coffee and went up to the mountain, Big Bear, talked to Frank. He'll tell you. People were astonished. If you know how to make amazing coffee, then offer that. Make some coffee for people. Help out. I know they do it on Sundays in the right before service. Help out with that if you want to. Might not be a big thing, but you know what? It's a small thing that will wake up everybody else. It means they're going to be ready for service. It means they're ready to receive. They might be taking out the trash. Might be really good at cleaning. Just find something that you really enjoy doing, and just offer to help. It's like I mentioned before when Frank said, to be a leader, you must first learn how to be the best server. And yeah, just find something that really that makes you happy, and just do that. And next thing you know, I did. I wanted to. I was happy, working with lights, working with this and that. And next thing I know, they're letting me work with all these things. A small act can lead to something that, to be honest, I don't even know. The possibilities are endless.
Awesome. And you said something before. You were like, I'm not a leader, but we see you as a leader. I think you're leading us, in this. You led us in this process, So if there's anything we could pour on to you is, you gave us a vision further than we saw it at that moment, that first podcast coming in, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I just want to tell you, like, we see you as a leader, I believe the words, like in the Bible, it says the words have the power to create and to destroy, and I'm very careful about what I say, and sometimes I stay away from saying things like I'm an introvert, because that I'm declaring that into my life, and so I'm declaring that you're a leader, man. You are a leader. You led us. You're leading people that will later on ask you, how do I do a podcast, and so like, use that, because I honestly, we see a leader in you, but I just to ask you a question about that transition. You mentioned Donald. Shout out to Donald. Shout out to Junior. Man, you in him you found a friend that you went to school with, somebody who brought you to church because of the similarity in age. I found out how old Donald is now thanks to you. But I'm just messing with you, bro. You're awesome.
It's true.
It's true, right? You guys hide it very well. But like, you tell us about how it's been walking with a friend that you went to school with, going to a cell group, receiving from him, and being blessed by him, like how has that been? How has that walk been for somebody that went to high school and it's difficult for them to receive, or, some of my boys in high school, listen up.
It was actually a very strong challenge. It was a major, major challenge. We're the same age. He's just older by a few months. And I took him to church first, actually. When we first started back in high school, senior year, I took him to church. He's like, this ain't for me. And that
Really?
so that was the end of that. Then he went into the Navy, et cetera, came back. We met up with a friend, and then that's when I was like, oh, cool, he's a Christian now. So he invited me to church, and like I mentioned, I had a heart. My heart was hardened at that time. I went through encounter and everything else, but as little by little, I started opening up. He actually, during my birthday celebration, he started Saturday. He said something that really stood out to me a lot. He said that he tells me, "You're a disciple that doesn't stress me out or doesn't give me a headache. I wish more people would be like you for my future disciples."
Amen.
And I was just caught me off guard because I thought I was giving him a hard time because I was being stubborn sometimes. The clothing I'm wearing right now. By the way, shout out to Bianca for this one because she really stepped up and pushed me to the limits on that.
Come on.
But yeah, Donald kept on telling me, he's like, I know you know what to do. I know you have your faith and everything, but I'm going to be here to help you with the things that you are struggling with. An area was dressing like. He had the same struggle, but I'm not talking about him right now, so about me. I was struggling with the clothing. He's like, how do you expect to find a wife the way you're dressing? Man, that hurt.
Wow.
But it was true, though. I was downgrading my clothing. I was downgrading my style. I was like, well, why should if she wants to if she's interested in me, she's gonna have to like me the way I am. That was my mentality, but it's changed now. And yeah, he tells me, bro, you need to just go buy the other clothes. Go buy other clothes. And I told him once, I got fed up and I said, I don't know how. This is what I buy. This is what I have. And so he's like, well, then ask the women. You have a bunch of friends that are girls. Go ask them. And I said, okay, fine. And that's when like I mentioned, Bianca helped me out with selecting clothing. Then a few other women helped me out. But those that known each other since high school and they're struggling because they're like, well, he's the same age as me or she's the same age as, so-and-so. Why should I listen to that person? It's not a matter of the age or who's been a Christian the longest. It's a matter that a leader is there to help you grow in an area that you might be struggling in. And for me, in this case, I had a hardened heart. He didn't, because he overcame that already. And he was there to help me overcome mine. Then the clothing, he had the same problem, which was downgrading our clothing. But then they helped him, and he's like, look, I've been through it. I'm here to help you. You got to listen. And eventually I did listen, and it changed my life. I mean, I was getting compliments left and right from everybody.
Hey, come on.
They were just saying, man, you're dressed clean every single time I see you.
Your haircut, bro. Like
the cleanness.
Fresh, bro. Look at you, bro.
Yeah, I went to a beauty salon for this one.
Hey, come on.
And she's an amazing barber or hairstylist. But, yeah, no, everything changed. I started listening. I started saying, you know what? I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to listen and try my best at what's being asked of me. And things have changed so much. My friendships have grown more in depth. My clothing, my style, my business is growing because of the way I dress, which also boosts up my confidence. So I'm pretty sure you guys see me. I could go up to anybody and have a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody. I'll find, what is it that Pastor said? You have a way, you have a certain skill set and knowledge that allows you to talk to a certain set of group of people that I myself cannot talk to because I don't have that knowledge. And I said, thanks, Pastor. I appreciate that. And it's true. I didn't understand it back then, but it's true. I have since I like to be well-rounded in knowledge, for those that know me. It allowed me to have a conversation. I could talk stuff from space down to the way the rocks are made, down to the foundation of how life, the organisms, all that. And I just love having conversations about anything.
That's awesome, bro. And, to, like, wrap it up, I just want to ask you one last question. Or did you want to ask him? You sure? I saw you, Oscar. You want to ask something?
No.
You sure?
Yeah. That blank me.
We'll edit it right now, but we'll edit it here. No, but blooper. Anyways, but to wrap it up, I do want to ask one last question, and since you made that transition, and you took a leap of faith, and you trusted God with your direction, and I feel like there's a lot of people who are afraid, who are whoever's watching, who's ever afraid to take that leap and make a transition. What's your advice for those people that are scared to make a transition or take that leap of faith?
Well, for someone that took 1.5 years to make that transition, and it was a tough one. It was an attachment that I had that I said, I cannot do this. Why can't people just accept me from having 2 different locations? Why can't things work? The truth is that what made me officially make the transition was I cannot be in 2 locations at once and expect to grow. Pastor actually made that very clear. If you want to give your best, you cannot be discipled unless you're being discipled 100%. Whether, for those that want to make a transition, whether it's for CFF or another church or whatever it might be, you have to see what is going to be more beneficial. At the end of the day, the church you're at, they're going to support you, they're going to love you no matter what, because that's what it is. We're a body. We're all in one. But the reality is, as one of my former pastors, she retired already, she told me once, she said, you got to choose what's going to be best for you, what's going to help you grow and get closer to God. Because, I'll tell you this part. She told me, she said, I don't want to see you in the sound room at 55 years old, single and miserable, wishing you would have made a decision in the past.
Ooh,
that hit me so hard, and that's what made me finally make the final decision. But where the thing you want to see yourself is, where are you going to be 10 years from now? If you decide to stay, are you growing? Are you being discipled in any way? And is your fellowship, is your community, is your family and the church, are they there for you constantly? That's the question you want to ask. And if the answers are no, then you got to consider, maybe I have to go somewhere where they're going to be able to provide that for me, because that's what you need. And I'm not saying that any church is better than the other, because a church is a church.
Amen.
But it's the community that is. Some people, CFF is the place for them. Some people, it's not. It's like, oh, this is not for me. It's too much. I need somewhere a little bit less pace. That's fine. You find your own place that's going to be there for you and help you grow. And God will take care of the rest. And just, next thing you know, you're going to be like, I know. Like right now, I did not see myself helping out with the podcast, helping out with Encounter, setting up all this stuff, doing live streaming. I got to do 3 weddings that were unexpected, just because I was faithful, and God told me, you need to buy this equipment. I'm like, God, I don't know how to run sound. I'm not a sound technician. I'm not a live streamer. I'm not any of these things. He's like, buy the gear. Okay, God. I bought the gear because I had some money saved up that I was just sitting there, and I bought it. Next thing I know, well, I'm not going to say the names of the people that got married, but they're like, hey, I need your help. It's the wedding's in 2 days. We need sound. I got you. Another one. I got you. And then another one. I need the... Actually, I could tell you this one because... so for... this goes for George. No, it's not for George.
George?
No, it's not for George. It's actually for Paola.
And Claudio?
Yeah. They asked me 18 hours before their wedding. For help. They needed to live streaming, they needed live sound, they needed everything.
Wow.
But that was because of COVID. Half of their guests got COVID. They wanted to watch it, and that was a major test. But because God prepared me back then, and He said, buy the gear now and start getting ready, and I'll take care of the rest. Their wedding got to go without a hitch, sound, live stream, everything, because a lot of people from church that were leaders, they all got to see it.
That's true.
And they were all astonished. They're like, wow, that's amazing. And that's because I was being faithful with it. So those that are afraid to come over, or whoever it is, just take a leap of faith. You never know what kind of blessings you'll be to others by doing so, and yourself. You never know the community or the endless possibilities of what might become of just taking that one leap of faith.
That's good. That's awesome. Any last words, Oscar?
I think that you said something that's really awesome, dude, that God was preparing you. You know, I think God has a plan already for us, and He's just preparing us in the little things. And you said something that really, it hit me hard, because you said that you were faithful at the beginning when you didn't even know what you were going to be used for, and
Wow.
I think that a lot of us struggle with that, like you think, it's a lot easier to be served than to serve, like
That's
if
good.
you think about, was it easy for you? I don't know. You had to push yourself, but what God has given you and what you have shown us because of that preparation is a heart of service, and the reason why we wanted to have you with us and to honor you is because you don't have to have a podium to preach about a servant heart. Sometimes all you have to do is do it, and we have seen it from day one. And so we
Amen.
want to thank you,
Yeah, thank you.
honestly, because you let us borrow your equipment. We didn't know that you didn't have this plan for your life. For all we knew, Oliver has always been an expert.
Yeah, so let's ask Oliver.
And it has really blessed us. We got a chance to make life with you, to be friends with you, and it's all because of service. I read something that I think is the epitome of when I read this. I'm like, this is Oliver. You say you give without want, so you can have. And I think when we give without expecting anything in return, God gives you so much, tenfold. And you can never outgive God. And so I just want to thank you before also wraps it up. He's the rapper of our podcast, but I just want to thank you, man, because you see a result in your influence, and I believe and I pray that that you give more of yourself to other people to get to know you, because once they get to know you, man, like you've allowed us to get to know you, and it's an honor to be served by you. we try to serve you the best we can. It's an honor to serve. And
Absolutely.
I think you do it so willingly that many other people will be impacted, and you'll instill in them a heart of service like you've done with us. So
thank you, brother.
thank you so much for our future success, and thank you for serving God with us. We really appreciate it.
And just thank you. Not only are you changing what we're doing here, our lives, but you're elevating not only our ministry, but you're going to elevate the world, bro. And I declare that for your life, that you're going to change the world. But thank you for coming on. And hopefully whoever watches this video, they realize whoever needs an audio guy, Oliver's a man. For their wedding or anything, hit me up or Oscar up. And we'll direct you to Oliver, or you can come to CFF, and he'll be there every Friday, Sunday, or cell group. But I just want to leave you guys with the word, from Philippians 4:6-7. And I think this word's for those, to going back to my last question, who are having trouble, transitioning, or who are stuck between, making a life change. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be even harder when you're still in the same place and looking back 5 years, 10 years gone by. And it says in Jeremiah 29 that God has a plan for you. He has a plan not to hurt you, but to prosper you. He has a hope in the future for you. So I want to leave you guys with this word. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. So, guys, take that leap of faith. We thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Oliver, again for coming on. We're excited for next week's episode. We want to promote it now. It's going to be good. We're going to have a couple one. It's going to be Oscar and his wife. It's going to be me and my girlfriend, Helen. We're going to be on next week. Should be pretty good. So we're looking forward to that. But thank you, guys. Love you guys.